Have you ever wondered how some people remain calm no matter what happens? I used to believe it was some kind of superpower. Maybe they had better parents, maybe less stress, or maybe they'd finally snapped and nothing fazed them anymore. Turns out, it's simpler and harder. They had let go of the need to control things. You think you're calm? Wait until someone tests you. Then we'll see. So before you relax, take a second to like the video and subscribe. But only if you truly enjoy what I'm building here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. I'm always curious how Stoicism moves across time zones. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe so we can continue exploring deeper Stoic lessons together each day. The human brain is a control freak. We try to predict traffic patterns, manage other people's opinions, optimize our diets, dodge death, and ensure a smooth bedtime routine for toddlers, all in the same afternoon. But the Stoics had a word for this frenzy: disturbance. They believed that much of our inner suffering comes not from the world itself, but from our refusal to accept its indifference to us. As Epictetus put it, some things are up to us, and some things are not. That sounds too simple. So I ignored it, and paid for it. I used to waste hours mentally rehearsing what I would say in arguments that hadn't even happened, as if I could plan for someone else's emotions, or pre-negotiate the universe. But over time, I started to notice that control is usually just fear wearing a suit. We tighten our grip, not because we're strong, but because we're scared to fall. Ironically, it's the letting go that makes you solid. It feels like jumping, but it's really just stopping. The ancient Stoics were strange in their own way. Cato, for example, would wear unfashionable clothes on purpose, just to practice not caring what people thought. He was actively training himself to be immune to judgment. Would I walk into a board meeting in a toga just to strengthen my soul? Maybe not, but I get it. It's not about aesthetics. It's about exposure therapy for the ego. Here's the deeper debate. Is freedom the absence of constraint? Or is it the ability to be unmoved by constraints we can't escape? If you need everything around you to bend in your favor, to feel peace, then I still make lists like I'm briefing a Roman general for war. But there's a difference now. I hold the plan loosely. Seneca warned us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And he was right. I've lived through thousands of small disasters, most of them purely fictional. There's a Stoic exercise called premeditatio malorum, literally premeditation of evils. You imagine worst-case scenarios so they don't take you by surprise. At first, I resisted. Why would I dwell on terrible things? But here's the twist. Once you imagine them clearly, they lose their sting. Fear thrives in the fog. Clarity starves it. Now, I try it before big moments. A tough conversation? I picture it going badly. I picture awkward pauses, raised voices. Then I picture myself staying calm. Job interview? I picture forgetting everything, stumbling, then breathing through it anyway. It's like building emotional calluses. Of course, there's a debate here. Does imagining bad outcomes attract them or diffuse them? Is it pessimism or preparation? The Stoics bet on the second, and I'd rather be mentally ready than spiritually surprised. One odd thing I've started doing? I set aside worry time. Just 15 minutes where I allow myself to worry as hard as I want. But the rest of the day? Off limits. No sneaky late-night catastrophizing. If it's not worry o'clock, it gets postponed. Weirdly, it works. Because when you give fear a room of its own, it stops pacing through the entire house. Sometimes I laugh at how deeply I used to believe I could fix everything, by force of thought alone, as if I was Zeus with a Google Calendar. But letting go of control didn't make me lazy. It made me lighter. I started solving problems because I chose to, not because I feared what would happen if I didn't. And there's a big difference between movement driven by fear and movement driven by clarity. There's this little lie we tell ourselves. If I just worry a little more, maybe I can prevent what I fear. As if anxiety is some kind of currency we can spend on fate. But it never works. It only buys us more anxiety. I used to believe that if I thought through every scenario, every variable, I'd somehow insulate myself from pain. But instead of peace, I built a fortress of tension. One bad outcome could topple the whole thing, because my sense of self was holding it up like scaffolding. That's when I started journaling like Epictetus advised. Not to track achievements, but to filter illusions. Each night, one question. What did I try to control today that was never... Picture a dog leashed to a moving cart. If the dog walks willingly, it moves with ease. But if it resists, if it digs in its heels, it still gets dragged. We're the dog. The cart is life. We can cooperate with what unfolds, or we can get scraped along the path with our pride torn up. Even modern neuroscience now echoes this. The more we try to suppress uncertainty, the more reactive and impulsive we become. So instead of bracing against life, I've tried to loosen my grip. Let the phone ring. Let the clouds cover the sun. Let people feel what they feel. It's strange how dignity returns when you stop arguing with reality. And strange, too, how people are more drawn to you when you're not grasping for control.
Control repels. Peace invites. There's a quiet strength in non-resistance, not passivity, but presence. To stand in a storm and say, I do not need the storm to pass. I only need to remain still. That is Stoicism. That is freedom.
Before you let go completely, I want to share one last thought. Freedom isn't found in forcing the world to bend to your will. It's found in bending yourself toward acceptance. Marcus Aurelius once said that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That power, that inner fortress, is what shields you from the chaos that life inevitably brings. When you stop chasing what you cannot control, a calmness spreads beneath your skin. A calmness that feels almost rebellious in a noisy world. You might wonder, does letting go mean giving up? No, it means giving in to what is, so you can move forward with clarity and peace. I remember an odd habit of Seneca. He would imagine the worst-case scenario daily, not to spiral into despair, but to train his mind to be ready, so no shock could shake his composure. It's a practice of readiness, not avoidance. Philosophers still debate whether true freedom is the absence of external constraints or the mastery of internal ones. but I find myself drawn to the latter. Because external things will always change, fall away, or betray you. Only your response, your attitude, can remain a solid ground.